Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast, where we explore our shared love for watching and discussing movies recorded in the late after-work hours, often in lieu of a good night's rest. I'm Julian.
I'm Emilio.
And I'm Madeline. In addition to this podcast, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Sleepless Cinematic Pod, and you can contact us via email. We'd love to hear from you. Write to us at sleeplesscinematicpod@gmail.com. And if you're on Letterboxd, you can follow me, Madeline, at Patroness of Cats.
And you can follow me, Julian, at Julian_Barthold.
If you're listening to us for the first time, thank you for finding us. There are many like us, but this podcast is ours. So we're grateful that you're here. If this is your second or third or 20th time that you've listened to us, thank you for sticking with us. We have really grown to love doing this, and it means the world to have our budding listenership grow. If you haven't already, we'd ask you, return listener, to please write a positive review and rate us on your podcast platform of choice. This is one of the best ways for new listeners to find us and help our podcast take its next steps.
So for this episode, we are all here to discuss not a movie of one of our traditional cycles, but we're here to have a standalone episode covering a current release, a film called I Saw the TV Glow, which is out now. It's been out for a few weeks. And we'll get into discussion shortly, but before that, we have a special guest with us today, someone who is a spectacular musician, a great person to discuss movies with as well, and a personal friend of mine of many years, Lily Desmond. Welcome to the show, Lily.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for
being
coming
here.
This is very exciting. I feel like you're going to have a lot of great insight for this.
I hope so.
And yeah, there's a particular reason why, which I'll state in a moment. I'll say a little bit about how we know each other first. So the simple answer is college. We went to the same college. We were both music students at Sarah Lawrence in different years, but still there was enough overlap. We were also part of the same extracurricular club at different times. That club was Midnight Cabaret. Shout out to Midcab.
Oh, man. So many nights.
Yeah. Kind of doing a late night thing here now, too.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. Yeah. But yeah, so that I think is really how we socially got to know each other. And then another reason why I thought you would be a good presence here to talk about this is because we did something a few years ago. It was not a podcast, but had some similar DNA, which is during peak COVID. We and a few friends of ours would get together once or twice a week to discuss music over Discord. And even though it was not a recorded, released thing, it was still something where we all got to share insights in a pretty similar fashion. Yeah, shout out to our friends who were part of that too.
Just a bunch of big music nerds getting together to nerd out. It was great.
See, that's not very different from what we're doing
Truly,
now.
yeah.
I mean, there's the music component for you guys, the film component, I guess, for us today, but there's a blend, I think, that happens quite often with us here, too.
Yes, there is a blend. So Lily is a singer, a violinist, a composer. You've had a few releases of your own at this point, albums, EPs. They're all great. Go check them out. Follow Lily on Bandcamp or your platform of choice. You also have some theater scoring credits as of the last few years. And most directly related to this film we're going to discuss tonight, you are a member of the band Sloppy Jane.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So for people who have seen or are looking to see I Saw the TV Glow, Sloppy Jane is a very prominently featured band in this film.
Very prominently featured.
Very prominently.
It's kind of exciting, actually, to watch.
Yes. You know, we have this connection. We figured we would love to have your insight, wherever applicable, on the Sloppy Jane front. But also, this, apart from that connection, this is just a really fascinating movie on a lot of levels. And, well, before we get too deep into discussing it, I Saw the TV Glow. This is not to be confused with Glow, the Netflix series about the glamorous ladies of wrestling, starring Alison Brie, Betty Gilpin, and, as if I don't talk about him enough already, Mark Maron.
Exactly. I was going to say, you're going to have to mention Mark Maron.
Yeah, we could have said that in unison, I think.
Yeah.
There will be a Sleepless Cinematic Podcast drinking game eventually.
Absolutely.
And that will be one of the things on there.
I have a list going of whenever we mention Mark Maron. I plan to compile it.
Yeah. I hope no one in the WTF camp takes any issue with that. This is
all love.
It's free advertising.
Free advertising.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
always cite them if we're like referencing a specific interview.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I should say too that I Saw the TV Glow should not be confused with The TV Set, which is a criminally underseen movie from 2006, written and directed by Jake Kasdan, son of the most important guy from the 1980s film world that you've never heard of, Lawrence Kasdan. It's a very funny movie. I know you know about it. But,
Lily and I have not.
Gotcha. No worries. Yeah.
I haven't.
It's a super funny movie, though. I would totally recommend you see it, but do not confuse it with I Saw the TV Glow.
Yes, and I Saw the TV Glow is also not to be confused with TV on the Radio, which also rhymes, which is a really fantastic band that I think many people are familiar with, and if you're not, check them out.
Yeah, and there's also the kind of the mixed media element in that name too, which
Exactly.
is relevant. Thematically, I Saw the TV Glows is not to be confused with the David Lynch film Inland Empire, which, I mean, title-wise may not sound so similar, but if you've seen Inland Empire, you know why I'm making this distinction.
Yes, although you and I were talking a little bit pre-recording that I also think that this has a lot of similarities to Mulholland Drive, and that was kind of the first one that in my mind compared it to.
Yeah, this is the beginning of what I'm sure is going to be a bigger thread of this conversation.
You know what? I didn't think about that before, but I'm seeing it now. Yeah.
But yeah, for people who know Inland Empire, I mean, there's an image early in that movie of someone literally staring at a TV glow. It's a motif throughout that movie, and there's also kind of like the mixed reality element of it too. So yeah, not to be confused with.
All right, so I've got one I'm going to throw in here.
Please.
I Saw the TV Glow should not be confused with Videodrome.
Oh, that's a good one.
Great. That's a really good one.
For one particular scene.
Oh,
I
yes.
feel like.
Yep, I know the one you mean.
Yeah. Head in the TV, you know.
Yeah. Also,
That's a really good one, actually.
should not be confused with the Family Guy episode where Stewie gets sucked into a TV.
Oh, not again.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't remember much about that episode, but I do remember a television having a gravitational pull and Stewie getting sucked away on the line. Oh, I haven't seen anything suck this much since I Heart Huckabees. Haven't seen the movie, cannot attest.
I love I Heart Huckabees. I have personal feelings about David O. Russell, but that is a great movie. I will.
You'll go to bat for that one.
I will go to bat for that
Fight
one.
Seth MacFarlane.
Exactly.
I want to see that.
No. We're talking I Saw the TV Glow, which I got around to this morning.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting. I'm really excited to get into
An
this one.
understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, Lily, you're pretty fresh off of seeing it too, right?
Yeah, I went to the 6:45 p.m. showing in Williamsburg. So
Nice.
I literally an hour between the end of the film and me coming here.
It is
So-
currently 10:40.
Was that your first time seeing it?
Yeah, that was my first time seeing it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. What about you, Madeline? What's your circumstance of seeing
I
it?
saw it last weekend, and I've only seen it once, which I really enjoyed it. I'm so excited to talk about it, but I know, Julian, you managed to squeeze in two screenings of this.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I did see it twice. The first one was notable because not only was it on opening night, but the film's director, Jane Schoenbrunn, was in attendance and gave a Q&A afterward. And I'll impart a few details of that as we go through the conversation. Second viewing was more for like mental note-taking, recalling certain things. And that was closer to this. That was 2 days ago as of this recording.
Cool.
But yeah, so this movie, even before I knew much about it, like just from the inception of hearing about it, I was already sold. I heard about this movie about 2 years ago as it was in production. And I mean, for a little bit of context, so this is director Jane Schoenbrunn's third film that they've made. And the first film I don't think that you can find anywhere. I Saw the TV Glow was only the second theatrical release, but the first one was a film that came out 2 years ago called We're All Going to the World's Fair. I only just saw that a few weeks ago, but at the time I was hip to it because my cousin Sylvie saw it, and Sylvie, who is a big cinephile too, kind of a whisperer on this podcast, says things through me. But yeah, so Sylvie saw it, highly recommended it. I didn't get around to it, but I made a mental note of, okay, this is a movie to watch.
I saw that movie about a year ago. I have to say, I don't think I retained much from it. I think I was kind of in and out. Like, I think I slept through parts of it. But I remember really enjoying it. And I just remember the vibes overall, which I think are similar to the vibes in this movie.
I believe so, with some distinctions, but overall, yes, you can tell they came from the same filmmaker. And so when I saw the TV Glow, I think was it was in production a few months after We're All Going to the World's Fair came out, and I just saw like in some piece of news about it that among the cast are Phoebe Bridgers, Snail Mail, and Haley Doll of Sloppy Jane, and I was like, I'm already there.
You're currently wearing a Phoebe Bridgers t-shirt.
I am. I'm wearing a Punisher shirt.
Some support.
Yeah, some support. Yeah, and so and it was being produced by A24. That was like all the right starter pack things are right there.
Yeah, the Julian starter pack.
Yeah. But so yeah, just all of these details were there. I was into it, but I was also just intrigued by the idea of casting musicians in a film like this about TV. And on the surface level, I was already like, I'm sold. I was eagerly awaiting it for these last 2 years, and now it's finally out. And I think my expectations, my hopes for it were certainly fulfilled. But then also we've mentioned that the band Sloppy Jane is prominently featured in the film. And so we'll probably get a little more into this. We'll save some of the plot details for now, but I feel like it's good to say a little bit about this band too, as we have a representative here. And so I'll kick this off, and of course, Lily, feel free to chime in whenever you see fit. I feel like I'll kick this off talking about the first time that I saw Sloppy Jane, which was pretty, I was uninitiated, to say the least. I kind of just showed up knowing, oh, cool, Lily's playing a show, might as well come and support. And oh my God, Sloppy Jane is, you see that band, you do not forget them. And I would liken the experience of the first time I saw Sloppy Jane kind of like the first time you watch a movie like Pink Flamingos.
I can actually get on board with that. Yeah. I mean, my first time being initiated with Sloppy Jane came in response to us preparing for this conversation. I didn't really know about the band very much, but I did a little deep dive and I was pretty drawn to it. I remember I had a conversation with my wife, who's also a musician. We sat in bed and just kind of like took in the Tiny Desk show. And we were kind of like speechless after for a couple minutes. And my wife had a really interesting observation, which she was like, I don't understand why people don't think it's okay to make more music that sounds like this. And it's true, because I do think, the music has this kind of slight avant-garde feel, but it's never too far from feeling a little more grounded in stuff that the average listener might be able to latch onto. So, yeah, I'm excited to have a representative here and hear a little bit more about the inner workings of the band.
Yeah. And so now I think it's time we turn it over to you, Lily. How did you come to join this band? What's your experience been like as a part of it?
I also went in completely blind.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I ran into Haley in the subway one time when I was busking.
Oh, wow.
And she and I actually went to middle school together briefly. And so she recognized me and we caught up a little bit, and she was like, I need a violinist for my Christmas special. I highly, highly recommend everybody go as soon as you can to look up the Sloppy Jane Christmas special, because it is one of the strangest, most beautiful experiences you will ever have.
I'm sold.
Yeah, it's so good. And from there, I kind of became like a huge fan and was just like anything that Haley did creatively, I was blown away by. And so I was just like, I want to be a part of this. And yeah, so I just stuck around and made myself available. And then tours and tours later, here we are.
Yeah, the rest is history. Mm-hmm. Then an album recorded in a cave too.
Oh man, yeah. That's something that I also really admire about Haley, is just like her dedication to just amazingly big artistic ideas.
Yeah.
And sort of that, to the point of what your wife said of making music that seems impractical on paper. Mm-hmm. Seems like an ordeal, but just is so fantastic once you actually see it pulled off.
Right,
and also, very grounded in just really good pop songwriting and really good rock songwriting, and also pulling in classical influences and 50s song arranging influences and all sort of stuff that is just, why I've stayed as long as I have. It's just so good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was really
So
drawn
much
to
fun.
the confessional lyric, that kind of vibe was, I find that sometimes with music like that, it's really helpful when you have little things like that kind of you can latch onto as well, kind of pull you along. And there's no shortage of, I think, really cool, interestingly worded like phrases and just lines that just stick with you and stay with you. And like I said, just pull you along. So super cool.
Yeah, no, like Haley writes all of her lyrics basically, and also writes all of the music. Like she occasionally works with other people for arranging and for like of course she collaborated with Phoebe on this song for the I Saw the TV Glow Claw Machine. Yeah. And you could hear it. Like you can hear Phoebe's influences in the song, and you can hear Haley's influences in the song. There's just it's a very good marriage of those two things. Yeah, the like very raw, emotional, like very relatable sentiments that Haley puts in, and also the like absurd metaphors that like get to the heart of a lot of feelings. That's something I really admire in her writing, and I think it makes her very well suited for this film as well. Just like spot on intensity. The marriage is perfect in that way. So.
Yeah, like the emotional rawness and the creative ambition of it all.
Yeah. I would love to see a double bill of Sloppy Jane and King Woman at double lunch. I would go to that show in a heartbeat.
Me too. Well, wouldn't she be playing in half of that?
Well, it would depend on whether it's the rock band configuration or the full string quartet configuration.
That's a good point.
Sloppy Jane comes in multiple forms.
This is true. I think my best sense of that was attending one of those Babies All Right shows last summer where there were like several different shows. The one I came to was the wedding one.
Oh, that was so fun. Yeah, we got invited to do a residency at Babies All Right in Williamsburg, and Haley arranged for 3 different shows with different basically genre bending like arrangements of all of the songs that she had already released and some new ones she was playing with. The first one was Wedding Night.
Yeah.
The second one was Cowboy Night. And then the third one was corporate seminar, corporate motivational seminar, I think was the official one. And that one, oh my God, mind blowing.
Yeah. For the wedding night that I came to, I mean, in the middle of the show, there was a couple, I think, friends of Haley who came to get married at the show.
They were fans, actually.
Oh, fans.
Yeah, they were fans who are from Salt Lake City, which is the town in America that loves Sloppy Jane the most.
Oh, really?
For some reason.
Shout out Salt Lake
that's
City.
awesome.
Yeah. And they were a couple and they wanted to get married, and Haley was looking for a couple to marry at this show, and she was ordained.
Rock on.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful moment.
That was so cool.
I think we were talking about it some months later, and I was saying like, oh yeah, they ceremonially got married, but that wasn't official, was it? And then you're like, no, it was.
It was real.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, Haley was ordained, and
Yeah.
nothing is impossible with Haley Doll.
You can get ordained online in 15 minutes.
You can literally do it on the
okay,
internet.
Fair point. But still, I think it adds...
Still wouldn't put it past her to
Right.
make sure she had that box checked.
Yeah.
It adds to the mystique of Haley Doll.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Haley Doll, if you're listening. But yeah, Sloppy Jane, as you said already, Lily, really a perfect fit for this film. I Saw the TV Glow. Even if it's like somewhat hard to put into words why, you just kind of feel like if you know the vibe of Sloppy Jane and you know the vibe of Jane Schoenbrun's previous film, We're All Going to the World's Fair, it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mentioned this already, but the emphasis on emotional vulnerability is something that really ties these things together. One way I like to think of it is like if I Saw the TV Glow were a band, it would probably be Sloppy Jane. In fact, I remember as a piece, something that was on the stage at least one show that I came to, there was like an actual TV set. I don't know if that's still a prop that's used on stage, but I remember there being like a TV set with a VHS playing in it.
Yes, we used to tour with a TV that we would put in the van, and we would bring it on stage, and we had a couple different VHSs that we would put in. It would either be like Fantasia or The Last Unicorn or The Velveteen Rabbit or like a couple other ones. There was that really old film, Dr. T's 5,000 Fingers. I'm getting it wrong. It's like a Dr. Seuss film.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something.
Yeah, no, it's a little more Roald Dahl than that, but like
Haley Doll, Roald Doll.
Yeah, and that
no
was
relation.
But that was a sort of like an element of like surrealism and absurdity that like would add to the spectacle.
Yeah, so anyone who attended a show with that prop would see that TV glow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to say too, I mean, like we already did one pair of names here, and I mean, Sloppy Jane Schoenbrun. Someone
Yeah,
can say
there
it.
you go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know, did Jane Schoenbrunn just find out about this band and think, oh, I'm that Jane? Yeah.
They just very deeply identify.
Yeah. And yeah, that was like an interesting thing. I was reading about the curation of the soundtrack. And this actually was something that Jane Schoenbrunn was putting together very early in the process, that they had some clear ideas of what they wanted musically in the film even before it was being shot. And that they would draw from Pitchfork to select artists. I assume that's true of Sloppy Jane. I don't know if there's any other connection there.
Yeah, I was going to ask like how, if you knew like kind of how you guys ended up being connected with this film.
I think that the director came to a show. I don't know
cool.
how they got to that show, but they did come to a show. And yeah, that the director reached out to Haley to start the collaboration. So.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that makes sense.
We alluded to it a little earlier, but the film sort of stops for a minute to be a concert.
Yeah, in the best way.
In the best way possible, yeah.
And also, like, at a moment of a pretty critical reveal.
Yes,
for the story.
exactly. Yeah.
It's intense.
Yeah, in fact, in the lyrics of that song, Claw Machine, Haley gets the honor of dropping the title of the movie.
Totally.
Yeah, very first line of the song. I saw the TV glow.
There we go. Yeah. Maybe we'll just talk a little bit about what this movie is about. It's 1995, and quiet 7th grader Owen meets sullen 9th grader Maddie, reading an episode guide for a TV series he's heard of but has never seen, called the Pink Opaque. Maddie, sensing that his interest has been piqued, invites him over to her place to watch it with her and a friend. It's there that Owen realizes that there's something in the Pink Opaque that he is really responding to, and it's also there that he begins to see the obsessive depths of Maddie's fascination with the show. They begin a distant but meaningful friendship where Maddie tapes the episodes for Owen to watch later. And while they don't socialize much, this ritual cements a bond between them that follows them well past high school and into their early adult life, where both Owen and Maddie are forced to reckon with how their lives may be forever impacted by what this show has imprinted on them.
Yeah, just about sums it up.
Yeah, it's a really funky film in the best way possible. It really does pull you in. We were talking earlier at the very beginning about some more thematic comparisons. Has anybody here seen the movie Mysterious Skin?
No, I know of
No.
it.
It's a Greg Araki film from 2004. It stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Brady Corbett. More so than I Saw the TV Glow, it's a very difficult and triggering film to watch because of the subject matter. And both movies they center around two young people who have this shared experience in their youth that bonds them for life. And this experience affects the two of them in different but very life-altering ways, where one of them tempts fate and lives recklessly, and the other one, it kind of withdraws further from reality. And one of them even moves away in search of something, and then the other one just stays home. So there's like a really interesting kind of duality there. But the undercurrents of like queerness, of domestic abuse, of like arrested development, of mental instability, it's all there in both of the films. And they have a really similar climax too. Visually, a lot of similarities, like the vibe and the feel, the soundtrack, also the balance of like the melancholy and optimism in the tone of the film, and also the characters themselves. So both films seem to kind of like, or it's asking the audience to really go along the ride with these two people.
Yeah. Yeah. And this companionship that you see between Owen and Maddie in I Saw the TV Glow, I mean, it's on the one hand, it's clear that, there's this kind of inextricable connection that they have with each other. But, these are angsty teens, and, they're socially awkward. They're not communicating very clearly all the time. There's a distance between them too. And there's a lot of qualifiers to this friendship as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we only ever see them interact when they're talking about this show. Like
Right.
We don't know really anything about their friendship. And later on they reference how like, oh, we always used to watch this together, but we really only see them watch it together a couple times. Mostly,
Right.
as you said, Emilio, she's taping these for him and leaving these in the dark room for him. Like she's not even like handing them to him in the hall. So they actually seem to have not that much interaction, which is part of why I find their friendship so interesting.
Yeah, it really feels, I mean, even for a movie that's set in a past time, but a past time that a lot of its audience has lived through, it kind of foreshadows this modern age where you can get so much done just by a click remotely. And so like this is a friendship that's happening mostly remotely in a time when, we don't have everything that we do now.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting that, this movie is called I Saw the TV Glow, which suggests, like you said, kind of an earlier age, but one that a lot of the audiences of the film will be familiar with. It suggests that it's a television show and that the main characters are experiencing it also as a television show. But Owen is kind of experiencing it more the way a more modern audience member would.
Yeah.
In a way where they can pause it, rewind, watch it again.
Yeah, not watching it live, not experiencing it.
Yeah,
as
Which
it's
receiving it as
airing.
videotapes.
Yeah, which I think is also kind of an interesting spin on it.
Right. And yeah, that just makes me think about how like when I was a kid, my parents were watching The Sopranos, they would have a friend videotape it all.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of like videotaping of things on television. Like my parents, I've mentioned, were like kind of strictish about what I was allowed to watch and like when I was allowed to watch things. And my mom and I always used to watch American Idol, but there did come a point in my high school life when I was not allowed to watch TV during the week. So she would videotape American Idol and we would like watch it on tape over the weekend, which is really sweet, but it also defeats the purpose of American Idol where you're supposed to be able to like text in or call in live to be able to vote, which I couldn't do.
Yeah, and I think this is all a great segue into our first discussion question for this episode. This film revolves around the experience of getting hooked to and identifying with a TV show only for it to be canceled prematurely and to the detriment of main character Owen's personal development. Most of us have had a show or a movie series or some other IP in our own lives that kind of has the same role. And so what are those for us? Do we have any shows or movies or other IPs that were that in our own lives? I can start this off by saying that as a kid, that one for me probably would be, even though I'm going to mention two examples here, and both of these things, I should just say now, were desires that were eventually requited. And one of them was Star Wars, where I grew up in the age when the prequel movies were coming out. I was 8 years old when Revenge of the Sith came out, and it was the best thing in the world to 8-year-old me. I loved it so much, but I was kind of sad that as I grew older, I didn't have more to look forward to in those few years afterward. And eventually this was a requited desire. The sequel trilogy happened, but by the time that was announced, I kind of had accepted that story wasn't going to go on. But then the other one for me that kind of has this role, well, this is picking up on a thread I started earlier, and that show would be Twin Peaks.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that, and because obviously, but also because this was a show that was completed before you were born.
Well, yes, that's a very good point that you make.
I was kind of interested because when you pose this question, I know that everyone's relationship to television and television shows have changed dramatically in the last maybe 10, 15 years. My answer to this would be the X-Files. Like I remember watching that television show and it was a really big deal when David Duchovny was no longer a part of it. And you really
Also
felt like it
in
was a
Twin
loss in the show. And then it was like, okay, now we have to meet the T-1000, and then the girl from Mystic Pizza, and have to start a relationship with them. By the way, those actors are Annabeth Gish and Robert Patrick. So I'm not just going to refer to them by their character names. But yeah, at the time it was a big adjustment for us.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think about what felt even close to what happens to Maddie and Owen in this film. And the closest thing I can think of, honestly, so when I was younger, and this is not a huge part of my life anymore, but I grew up Catholic, and when the kind of head priest at our church decided he was going to go somewhere else, it was a really, really big deal to me because every Sunday I would go and I would listen to him in the sermon. And then one day he was just like, I'm not going to be here anymore. And I remember I cried and I gave him a hug and he was like, it's going to be okay.
Wow.
And it was a huge deal for me when I was 8 or 9. And I wasn't even that religious, but the connection to somebody there whose responsibility it was to impart that and then suddenly be like, you're going to get somebody else now.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of relationship you're going to have with this person. That was really big for me when I was 9.
I understand that. Like, I grew up Lutheran. We had the same pastor my whole childhood. I had already gone off to college by the time he left. And it was a really big deal when he left. He had been there so long. Everybody had known him for over a decade. But the pastor who ended up replacing him, my parents always said looked like Ewan McGregor. So it was, I'd say, a fair trade-off.
Okay,
Trading
Pastor Obi-Wan. Yes, Pastor.
Lily, how about you?
I think I've been thinking about it just now. I got turned on to anime by secretly staying up late and watching Adult Swim.
Love that.
So
Nice.
I had a bedtime, and unlike Owen, I rebelled.
He only does it a couple times.
Yeah, but like I didn't have to sneak to a friend's house to do it. And I didn't necessarily have the experience of falling in love with a show, watching it every week, and then it discontinuing and like sort of like feeling like my heart was cut in half or anything.
Yeah.
But having sort of like a very emotional connection, but sort of scattered view of these shows, because I like comment in the middle of it and it shows every week, or like there's reruns. It's like, oh, I've already seen this one. Like they aired it 3 weeks ago. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But also like, in particular, like a lot of the anime that I was watching, like Yu Yu Hakusho and Inuyasha, they're like very intense, violent cartoons.
Yeah.
And there's nudity and there's cursing and there's bad voice acting and there is all this stuff that like I had never been exposed to. And so it was just like a world shift to me.
Right.
Which was fascinating and really cool. But also like TV was the only thing that would get me up in the morning to go to school, like when I was in elementary school, because I lived a block away from my school, but like I would have to like wake up very early. And so my mom would be like, okay, Sagwa, the Chinese Siamese cat, is on PBS. Let's go.
Now that you say that, that reminds me that I had a period of childhood where TV was the thing that got me up too.
Yeah.
Like I would have, like I'd go to school like 8:30 in the morning, but I'd make sure to get up at 7 to watch reruns of Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that really like, I don't know, that like really pulled my heartstrings with this film was like, I was also one of those kids that like played pretend a lot and would like, run around being Lord of the Rings characters with my friends and things like that. And sort of that just like desire to be something greater and more beautiful than you feel yourself to be.
Yeah.
And like to escape this reality that you're like still getting used to because you're new to the world and you don't really get it, and there's so much stuff going on inside of you that like you have no idea how to handle it, and you can't trust your parents and you can't trust like your school administrators, and you can maybe trust your friends, but like can you? Like, there's just a lot of that.
And
really
in Maddie's case, she doesn't really have that many friends.
No.
And it
Yeah.
seems like the friends that she tries to make, she also struggles with figuring out how to be friends with them.
Yeah, she connects much more deeply to the characters on her screen than any of the people in her real life.
But she also has more friends than Owen does.
That's true.
And she kind of recognizes that power dynamic where she recognizes how absolutely awkward he is, which I think is why she starts doing the tapes.
Yeah, I think it's why she invites him in the first place. I think that when he first approaches her, you sort of get that sense where she's almost about to be like, leave me alone. Like,
Yeah.
Definitely.
I clearly do not want to talk to you. That's why I'm sitting here reading a book, because I don't want to socialize. But I think because he kind of like continues to try in a way that it's very obvious is like putting him out of his comfort zone, I think she takes a little bit of pity on him in a sweet way. And clearly that, has a huge effect on their relationship and each of their lives' trajectories.
And she's also sitting out there in a way that's just like, leave me alone, but I'm going to make myself as obvious as possible to seem interesting. Like in that
That's
way
true.
that teenagers is like, I'm brooding.
Yeah.
Like look at me, but don't look at me. That kind of feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and like that first conversation between Owen and Maddie, I mean, it kind of starts with her roasting him, where like, she asks him what grade he's in, and he's in 7th grade, she's in 9th, and she's like, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then, quickly you could get the sense that, like, he feels a little hurt, and she realizes that, and then she actually like extends the olive branch there.
Totally.
And yeah, I mean, I think we'll unpack it a little more. It's an interesting relationship that those two have. I just, as we've been talking about this, have realized, wait, this is a buddy movie.
Sure.
In, in a kind of a dark, perverse way, but it's
Yeah.
Emilio disagrees.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a really imbalanced friendship.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just say.
certainly.
At some point, we're going to get into spoiler talk. I don't think
Okay,
we're quite
good.
there yet.
I have thoughts.
Oh, I do too. I definitely do too.
Yeah, as much as it may be, a buddy dynamic, I mean, one of the big themes that stuck out from this film to me was codependency.
Yeah.
In this main friend group, but also with, television, that there's kind of a codependent relationship that a lot of people can have with a TV show or IP that they're latched onto, that it's like it's everything while it's happening, but then what happens if it goes away? What do you do? How do you fill that void?
Yeah.
And I mean, it made me think comedically, there was an episode of Portlandia where Fred and Carrie become obsessed with Battlestar Galactica to the point that they quit their jobs just to watch the show. And then when it's over, there's a very memorable shot of Carrie Brownstein just screaming in terror when it's over. But that's, that's the kind of television codependency. Or actually, I'm going to put an asterisk on that word codependency. I have a thought I'll share in a moment, but that's the kind of television codependency asterisk that you see just thematically beyond this movie. It exists in general. Now, the asterisk I'm going to put on that is actually to reveal an anecdote that Jane Schoenbrunn mentioned in the Q&A that I saw, which is, I think, the quote that they said that sticks out in my mind the most is, "You watch TV, but it doesn't watch you back." And I mean, in this age of streaming and, internet cookies, maybe there's a counter argument for that, but
I could definitely see that.
So
for
what
sure.
you're saying is when it comes to our relationship or their relationship, like the character's relationship with television, it's not codependency, it's just dependency.
well, yeah, that's a more true way of putting it. Codependency exists in the friendship in the film, but
Yeah.
maybe less in the television relationship.
I definitely see that for sure.
Yeah, I really loved that Jane Schoenbrunn said that. I already understood the movie, but it illuminated so much about it to me.
On a small little detail, I really loved that the name of the high school was Void
Yeah.
High School.
Void High.
And that the acronym was VHS.
Ha.
So, kind of a nice little
Yeah.
homage there
I
to
didn't
the
even notice that.
videotape reference.
That came up in the Q&A too. I think that the high school that they shot at in New Jersey is really called Verona High School.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Void High School.
No.
Again, not very subtle. I think it's definitely trying to suggest that this school and its administrators are not doing anything to really fill the quote unquote void.
I remember there's a shot where we're following Owen down the halls
I
as
love
he's
that
going to go
scene.
pick up the videotape from the dark room. And we're seeing all the slogans on all
Yeah.
the bulletin
Yeah.
boards. And the one that says, pain is weakness
Leaving
leaving
the
your
body.
body.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I've heard that a lot in life.
I've heard
I'm
that,
so
but
sorry.
not
No,
in
it's
like a school. Like
Yeah.
I've heard that just like kind of thrown out, but I wouldn't ever think to put it in the minds of high schoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's contrasted with this pink writing that we see going across the screen as this shot is happening, which is, to use your word, Emilio, ostensibly Owen's diary entries or his like journalings about the Pink Opaque.
Oh,
Are they
No, I
the
thought that those
journaling?
were the labels on the VHSs.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah, that you're
That
right
Maddie
about
was
that.
writing.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that actually was the detail that I thought was really interesting, because she has this whole disconnect with him,
Yeah.
but seems to put a lot of care into how she curates the experience of the show for him.
Yeah.
So I feel like this friendship, like, even though she does, like, there is a little bit of codependency stuff, and like she does have a little bit more of an advantage over him in like age and like a little bit of social status, being able to like socialize with other people, supposedly.
To
see.
some extent.
To some extent.
Yeah.
Owen is very neurodivergent coded.
Yeah.
And I think that her tailoring her interactions to him in this way is her way of saying, of like trying to figure out like what is the most supportive way to connect to this person. And like maybe like because he is so shy and he like very clearly like wants connection but doesn't connect to her in the way that other people probably have been. And so she's like, okay, you're different. Because you're different, I'm going to also share my secrets with you, but I'm going to do it in this way that like feels like almost like a secret like pen pal like sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also so passionate about this television show. Like, she has clearly spent so much of her time and her life thinking about the show and the lore and the characters. And so I think she's like, this is a person who's totally new to this and who actually cares. Like when she had previously watched it with her other friend who like, tries out for cheerleading or whatever. When we see them watching it together, her other friend seems totally totally disinterested. So I think the fact that Maddie's like, well, somebody else is going to share this with me. Like, I'm able to share this passion with another person, and nobody else in my life really cares about this thing that I love.
I also think it's kind of interesting because when she goes a step further and re-invites him back to see or experience the show, as it's aired, she has to qualify it first with, we're not going to hook up, basically.
Well, he also asks first. Like, he seeks it out. She's not the one who invites him back.
That's right.
Yeah.
But she's the one who's like,
when
this
she
can't
agrees
be,
to it.
This can't be because you're just trying to get close to me. And, you want to hook up.
And he's just like, what is sex?
Yeah, I was gonna say too that he's like that. Owen's a pretty asexually coded character.
Yeah, for
and that,
sure.
Yeah, then Maddie asks him in that same scene on the bleachers who he likes, and I think he just says, "I don't know. I like TV shows."
I love that.
Yeah, good line.
That scene is excellent and beautifully acted by Justice Smith in particular, because there's not that much dialogue, but he says so much with his facial expressions and with his eyes and with like his hesitations, where it's clear that like I forget the line, but he kind of outright says that he doesn't like thinking about this.
Yeah.
That this makes him very anxious to think about.
The way that he describes it too is so interesting. I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but basically being like he got dug out or something, shoveled out, like all of these parts that would have been inside of him that would have given him some answers. And what's left is a void. And something has to come in and start answering questions for him. And the TV show is it.
And there's a motif that comes up in that line of dialogue that occurs throughout the movie too, of graves.
Right.
It's very chilling, but there is a noticeable motif of open graves in the movie. Yeah. That's actually, there's something in We're All Going to the World's Fair as well that is along very similar lines. So it's maybe more just a broad Jane Schoenbrunn motif. But yeah, I think that line where Owen says that's where it begins. And then later on, I think there's a standalone shot where you see an open grave by the football field where they're talking. Yeah. Then also there are some scenes in later in episode footage we see of the Pink Opaque that have graves too. And that came up in the Q&A as well, that it was, logistically it was kind of funny that I think some of the most arduous meetings that Jane Schoenbrunn had to endure in production meetings for the movie had to do with digging up graves. Yeah. Yeah, that was like one of the more difficult things to actually get done to complete the movie. And it's like, I think there's a very noticeable theme of depression in I Saw the TV Glow too. Also in We're All Going to the World's Fair. Both of those movies are like some very depressive characters in them. Yeah,
I felt like depression was one of the enormous themes in this film. And I felt this movie is about a lot of different things. I feel like fandom and the way that it can have a very arresting nature, I think, on you to find something that you get super excited about, but that it can also kind of warp your brain a little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to what we were describing before, there is a void in you and something has to fill it. So what you just kind of hope is that whatever fills it doesn't really mess you up too bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can't really say that the characters in this movie come out scot-free.
No. The fandom thing you mentioned made me think of, do you guys know How To with John Wilson?
Yeah, I just started watching that show.
Oh, you're in for a treat. It's so good.
I'm already loving it.
There's an episode where they talk to a bunch of people who are Avatar fans. Yeah. Not Avatar The Last Airbender, James Cameron's Avatar. To the point where they dress in the Naveen like blue skin and they learn the language and all that stuff. And like these fans share their stories and it's heartbreaking. Yeah, like these people really are escaping really awful lives with this like story that is filling a void. And in a way, like Owen is escaping like an internal world that he can't make sense of, and like his mother dying,
home life.
Yeah, very complicated home life. And Maddie like is living in an abusive household. Yeah,
like she says, this town is going to kill me.
Yeah,
but the implication is I am not safe in this house.
She also says she's like, if my stepdad finds you, he's going to break my nose again.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And she's gay. And she's already getting mocked at school and all sorts of shit.
Yeah. So. And so then she has this drive to leave that isn't really shared by Owen. As much as he has, he has this void to fill inside of him, that's not the way that he wants to do it.
And I think it's so interesting that she does ask him to leave with her, because I think that he would probably slow her down. I think she's probably better off having escaped on her own. Clearly it did not go particularly well for her, but I think it would have gone worse if he was there.
Yeah, she really asks him that question twice throughout the movie. First, in this sort of initial act, like I guess the end of the first act of the movie, where she leaves the house that she has been raised in and is nowhere to be found. Only remnant of her is a burning TV set. But then later on, and I guess now we're getting deeper along in the plot of the movie, when Maddie returns, sometime later, and then she alleges that she has been living in the reality of the Pink Opaque. Mm-hmm. And then she reaches out to Owen in a similar way, and you see kind of the same dynamic occur there.
Yeah.
I just want to go back really quickly.
Yes.
We were talking about the houses and the home life of these two main characters, Owen and Maddie, and the lack of parental presence in their lives, I think, is a really big driving force in this. I just listened to a podcast recently about rising levels of depression in young people, specifically here in the United States. And one of the points that kept coming up was that, yes, screens and social media most likely play a big role in this, but that really it's the presence of them that has created a lot of unrealistic expectations in what is viewed as culturally important, and that now more than ever, a strong relationship with your parents or adult figures is just so key, because they can help you understand like what is real and what's not important to follow. Mm-hmm. And Owen sort of has that with his mom, but she also feels kind of disconnected from him in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like the movie sort of creates this dynamic with them right off the bat that she accepts him but doesn't really know how to love him.
Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And I think that the dynamic with his father, played by Fred Durst.
I have to laugh about that for a quick second.
I have an anecdote about that too from the Q&A.
But the dynamic between the three of them is interesting and also I think concerning in a lot of ways. Like, we don't necessarily see or have direct implications of Owen's father being abusive, but he's clearly very emotionally distant from them at the very least, like from both of them. And Owen's mother is clearly very like walking on eggshells around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you don't get many lines or even scenes with this father, but the one very clear line that you do get from him when Owen is talking about his interest in the Pink Opaque in the back of a car that he's driving is, "Isn't that a show for girls?"
Yeah, I think it's the one line he has.
Yeah.
In the whole thing.
Yeah. There's more scenes with him, but he's a mostly silent character otherwise, which just underscores, this absence that he has as a father. That's another common thread with We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is, I think, what I Saw the TV Glow is for television. We're All Going to the World's Fair is kind of that for the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a movie that, I just have to say, the perfect situation to watch that movie is on a computer specifically at 2 a.m. There is no better situation for watching that movie. Yeah, it is made for that.
Wow.
Yeah. But like specifically, if you watch it on a computer, there's a motif in that movie of a load screen. It really, it's very medium specific.
It's interesting, though, that seems like that's a recurring theme for Jane Schoenbrunn, that we're having to constantly reflect on how the media that we take in, what is it doing to us? How is it changing us? This film in particular, I think, is really addressing it. And I find it also kind of neat that in doing so, it has to place it back in time, in an era where we didn't have the internet, in an era where we didn't have message boards and other things like that, communities where somebody like Maddie would probably go to in order to scratch her itch, in order to feel like that void in her could be filled in a way that was grounding her more in reality.
Yeah, if this movie took place 4 to 10 years later, then Maddie would be on message boards every night as soon as the show ended to talk to other people about it.
Yeah. And the internet community that you see in We're All Going to the World's Fair, well, it's not unqualified. It's definitely not a healthy community per se, but that is a solace that the main character of that movie who is named Casey, at least as we know her on screen. That's, there's a solace that Casey takes in the internet. And also the connection I was actually thinking of initially with that is that that's also, there's a abusive or absent parent in that movie too, who you actually don't see on screen, interestingly, but is there. But yeah, and so then there's like both of these movies have these several voids that, whether it's the void inside the soul of the main character or also, these parental like role model voids too.
Yeah.
And these characters are kind of just left, even if not literally on their own, figuratively on their own in trying to navigate the world.
Yeah. I'm wondering, can we shift over to your question? The second question that you posed, I think,
sure,
is kind of interesting too.
Yeah. So now we're going to shift into talking about the presence of music in I Saw the TV Glow. And it's funny, it's a little ironic that for a movie about TV, that music is so foregrounded in it. I'm certainly not arguing against it. I absolutely love the musical presences in this film. Among these foregroundings of music, there's a few people in the cast. We've already mentioned Sloppy Jane and Phoebe Bridgers. There's also the band that plays after them at this venue, the Double Lunch, King Woman. Then there's Lindsay Jordan, who is better known by the moniker Snail Mail, who appears as Tara in the Pink Opaque, and Fred Durst, who we've already mentioned from the band Limp Bizkit. And so firstly, what do we make of the presence of all of these musicians in the cast? And secondly, what broader observations do we have about the soundtrack, its aura, themes, the assemblage of artists in it? Yeah, I have thoughts, but I'll put it all over to you first.
Something that I really liked when I found an article about the soundtrack from The Fader was, I don't know if the director said this at the Q&A, but apparently a prompt that they gave to a lot of the artists was, what is the song that you would play at the Bronze, which was this club in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Oh,
yeah.
Buffy, that came up in the Q&A. Because there was someone in the audience. It was the last question too. It was like the last, we've got to wrap things up. One last question. And someone asked, so there's a lot of imagery from like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this. Amber Benson is in the cast. And basically the question to Jane Schoenbrunn was, is the Pink Opaque meant to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer? And the answer was, instead of just being a plain yes, it was more like, you sure you remember that show correctly? Just playing into the mystique of the movie.
Yeah, so you were talking about like the fictional venue in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah. Also very like Roadhouse and Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think music being featured in a movie about TV is perfectly appropriate considering how like vital music is to a lot of these visual mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To like help tell the stories, and also like the era of MTV and concert movies and other things like that. I think it adds another layer to sort of like questioning the reality of the world in the way that like the characters are questioning their reality.
Yeah, particularly with Lindsay Jordan playing a presumed to be fictional character in the narrative of the film. I think that it would have maybe meant something different if they had put this musician playing a character that is in the same reality as our main characters. Ooh. But because she's in a different reality and is to them fictional, I think that kind of plays into exactly what you're saying with like music just directly connecting to these kind of 90s television shows that we're referencing and that we're paying homage to throughout the film.
I didn't ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but for me, like the thing I was assuming was that there were Twin Peaks connections in the Pink Opaque. And it took me surprisingly long to come to this, but I feel like the way that Sloppy Jane and King Woman appear in the film is kind of like the way the Roadhouse is used in Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about what the real life stand-in, I guess, for the young adult network was, for me, it was clearly Nickelodeon.
It's Nickelodeon.
Right? Mm-hmm. And because they talk about how it goes black and white after 11, for the Nick and Night.
Old people.
But it's funny because looking back on some of their shows, there is this dreamy weirdness to a lot of them. Like did you guys ever watch Adventures of Pete and Pete?
I wrote this down as I was like, I have several because I feel like this is like a blender of Buffy, Adventures of Pete and Pete, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yep,
and
that's the other
Twin
one.
Peaks.
Yeah. And it's just like, to me, that was the one that really jumped out to me.
Absolutely.
Like, tonally, that one sits in this weird place where they create this almost alternate reality to
Yeah.
their world, and it almost feels a lot like the alternate reality that Maddie is trying to also create for herself.
Yeah. Well,
and so
did you catch the cameo?
I didn't catch the cameo.
Wouldn't have caught this at the time, but I read this after. Pete and Pete are in this.
Oh, I think I know who they
So
are.
they're like the neighbors that are just like very creepily on the street.
That's who I thought. Yeah. I was wondering about those two. It's just the kind of like, that's something that felt very Lynchian, just seeing
For
those
sure.
two people with no context.
No context.
Yeah.
I thought that was real life Marco and Polo.
Oh, interesting.
That was how I interpreted it
Yeah.
Yeah.
while I was watching it. And then I saw that it's like, oh, that's Pete and Pete.
Yeah. And so just for context, Marco and Polo are kind of the henchmen of Mr. Melancholy, who is the arch villain in the Pink Opaque. And actually, there's, talking about that show itself and connecting this back to music, I was picking up some very big Smashing Pumpkins motifs there.
Oh, big
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, because Mr. Melancholy. I think
In
there's
the
an
Infinite Sadness.
yeah. I think there's a like an image in the album art of Melancholy and Infinite Sadness of like a face in the moon.
Yep.
And then also, actually, at the beginning of the sequence, when you actually see the episode where Mr. Melancholy appears, there is a cover recorded by Snail Mail of Tonight Tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked this up too in the Wikipedia article about the soundtrack, and that was totally Jane Schoenbrun's intention. Like watching the movie, I thought like, oh, is this only for the fans? But no, this is like Jane Schoenbrun is pretty transparent about, yes, these are meant to be Smashing Pumpkins references. And then in thinking about the casting of some of these people in the movie, the Lindsay Jordan casting that was interesting to me because I sort of think it's safe to say we all here like seeing musicians who you might not initially presume to be actors on film acting. I always enjoy that. I think the most recent to this movie that scratched that itch for me was Licorice Pizza, where you see the Hyam sisters kind of just, you get the sense that they're being themselves, and Paul Thomas Anderson's kind of just shepherding them, but also that Paul Thomas Anderson just knew Alana Hyam, and regardless of her lack of acting resume, just thought, I've got a part for you. You would work in this. And I think he was correct about that. And I didn't find any anecdotes about like the casting of Lindsay Jordan, but I sort of wonder if that was Jane Schoenbrun's idea too. Just like, you have star power, be in my movie.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to Fred Durst, well, I do have an anecdote about that. So in the Q&A, I think someone asked, maybe actually it was the moderator of the Q&A who asked about Fred Durst. And basically Jane Schoenbrun was just saying, going back to their image of like a, childhood image of a nightmarish father, and Fred Durst was the first person who came to mind. It's pretty simple.
Interesting.
Because Jane Schoenbrun grew up in the 90s. Limp Bizkit was popular when they were coming of age. And well, apparently, by contrast, on set, Fred Durst was really pleasant to work with.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he was, because
Yeah.
he actually seems rather harmless. Like, I know he's made a career talking about breaking stuff, amongst other things, and covering George Michael and chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water. But he's kind of a big goof.
Yeah.
All of the people
but-
who play villains the best are always sweethearts.
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
so.
that's often a trend.
We were talking about Margaret Hamilton,
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Heath Ledger.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, another good one.
There we go.
But yeah, then also thinking beyond the casting of musicians in the film, the soundtrack is very robust too. It's a really it stands alone great as an album. It's very listenable. There's a lot of great inclusions there. We were talking earlier about that walking shot through the hallway, which has probably my favorite non-actor needle drop in the movie. That is Caroline Polachek's entry in the movie Starburned and Unkissed. And speaking of her, when is someone going to cast her in an acting role? She would be incredible in a movie. Absolutely
She
incredible.
casts herself in every acting role. She's so good and she knows it and she displays herself. It's incredible. I want to see her on screen all the time.
Yeah. I think maybe the reason why, if
Can
you
you tell
watch...
how big of a crush I have on her?
Yeah, not just you. But I think if you watch videos of her performing live, she has an incredible stage presence. I think it's only a matter of time, but maybe the reason why it's a matter of time is because you can't put her in just anything.
Yeah.
I feel like she has I would see her being really great in like a certain kind of genre movie. I could see her one of her biggest influences is Bjork, and I could see her being kind of like what Bjork was in The Northman, a witch. I could see her being a witchy figure. I feel like she would be a great like Blade Runner replicant too. Yeah,
for sure.
just something
Possibly.
about her. I feel like she'd be great at being like absolutely stunning to look at, but deadly.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
But going back to the soundtrack, I was reading a few different interviews, one of which was from the website Bloody Disgusting. And one of the things that the director said was that early on, they pitched A24 the idea of making a soundtrack from an alternate dimension. And they said that the soundtrack for the film could double as the soundtrack for the Pink Opaque. Which I think is a really interesting take. So they're like making a soundtrack that exists in universe. And I don't know if that's, canon or whatever, but it seemed like that was kind of how it originated. And they go on to say the idea was that we would get all these contemporary bands to write the song that they would have played if they played at the Bronze on Buffy.
Yeah.
I kind of like the added level of abstraction there.
Yeah.
You're like, we're going to score the television show that becomes the obsession of people in the movie and the reality that is being created there. And also feels very in line with how the movie treats the idea of reality and putting distance from reality in how you choose to engage with the world. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I like that.
Yeah, and they go on to say that they wanted to create a soundtrack that could also be listened to independently of the film and how they could kind of play into each other. Someone could find the soundtrack, which is filled with a lot of musicians that I love, and I can absolutely like listen to this soundtrack without any knowledge of the film. And maybe it would inspire somebody to go see the film, or vice versa. Someone who goes to see the film that may not be familiar with a lot of the musicians on it, or just familiar with a couple of the bigger names and can now have that influence.
Yeah.
Right.
One quote that I picked up from Jane Schoenbrunn about the soundtrack was that I think they wanted it to be the greatest 90s mixtape that never existed.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that when they were curating it, picking up all these artists from Pitchfork or wherever, or reaching out to Haley Dahl, there were prompts that Jane Schoenbrunn was coming up with for everyone, just like play. Like, I think the one that they gave to Jay Som, who's one artist on the soundtrack, was like, play the greatest teenage fan club song that never happened, or something like that. What struck me, too, is that this collection of artists in the soundtrack, I mean, I think there's a lot of people here who have, in their just general music and their general discographies, there's an emphasis on vulnerability in it, too. I think, for a movie that has its surrealism and, like, mysteriousness to it, a lot of these bands really, they have a very hard on their sleeve quality to them. It's kind of a counterpoint to some of the aspects within the narrative. I mean, the other part of the question that I wrote down was like, do our individual relationships with music potentially resemble those had with TV in this movie or in our own lives? And I feel like music, well, when I think about like the entertainment that I consume, I like a lot of really like out there stuff in general. But when it comes to movies, I enjoy like the, David Lynch style of cagey, where it's like, it doesn't make sense and it's not supposed to. What you see is what you get. But with music, I feel like a lot of the go-to stuff for me is very like hard on the sleeve, vulnerable stuff that really gets at the inner workings of the soul. And it's like, I don't know if I can point to it, but there's something about music that I feel like really makes us want to access that more transparent part of ourselves. Maybe in a way that sometimes film and other visual media, I mean, certainly does, but it just registers differently sometimes.
One of the things that I think a lot about when it comes to music is you can experience it doing a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Right? Like some music you put on and it's like, this is going to help me vacuum. Some music you put on, you're like, this is going to help me jog faster on the treadmill.
Chill beats to study. Too.
Chill beats or
And
whatever.
every single variation of that video.
Exactly. I know. And then there's some music that you put on and you give the attention that you would give a film. You literally close your eyes to feel like you're taking it in fully. And it's funny. I do feel like I consume music a little bit more like, what is it giving me in a more instantaneous way?
Yeah.
And then from there, I create more emotional attachment based off of that.
Yeah. You were talking about how often we will, approach or like we will experience different kinds of music like in different parts of our lives. My own experience with a lot of music is that I will often take, one artist or one album and experience that in all of these different ways.
Me
and
too.
I will oftentimes when there's a new album that I really want to listen to, I'll throw it on here in our lounge at the school, but I'm working and I'm not paying attention, and it's just sort of there in the background. And that's going to be a very different listening experience if I go home and, as you said, just like throw on headphones and close my eyes, which is going to be a different experience than if I'm playing it on my run. And oftentimes I can use the same album for all of these experiences, whether I'm walking down the street or having it playing in the background. And I find it so interesting to absorb music to these varying degrees. And when I really sit down and like sit with something that I've sort of had in the background of my life for a few days and like slowly absorbing, I find it so interesting to then like really soak it in.
That's really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't do that. Actually. Like I admire that a lot. There's like some albums that I cannot listen to in certain settings because it's just going to be like too much. Like I remember I went to a dinner party and my friend was like, "Oh yeah, let me just put on Hounds of Love and we'll start from the Wicked the Witch." And I was just like, "Oh my god, I can't talk and listen to this record at the same
Fair
time.
enough.
It's too much."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is something like about the emotional immediacy of music that makes it like an incredibly, potent art form. And also in the way that sort of like visuals in movies and TV. And I think sort of like in the way that more sort of like visually absurd or surreal directors get at, like maybe like take Twin Peaks, for example, like what you see is what you get. It's sort of like it's like dream symbolism. It's like a bunch of weird things that will come together to kaleidoscope into a feeling. And then he's like, okay, I've been hit with that feeling. And I feel like music can do the exact same thing.
Right.
Either avant-garde or pop. And that's sort of like, that's the stuff that like, I feel like is really interesting and can create like a very deep emotional experience that not very many just like normal human experiences can give you. And I also remember in the same Fader article, Haley talks about having nostalgia for something that never happened. And like what you were saying, Julian, about, like the director advising artists to write the greatest hit from X situation that never happened.
Yeah.
It's like this desire, this yearning for like an ultimate perfect dream that is not reality. And that theme just runs through basically every single aspect of this film.
Yeah, I love that.
And like, we've made a bunch of David Lynch references already, but when you think about like the use of music in his films and in Twin Peaks, that there's like often, something very unsettling going on in the reality of whatever the narrative is, but the music has kind of a romantic dream poppy feel to it.
Often, but a moment that I will never get out of my head is in The Return when Mr. C is driving down that just like dark highway.
Oh, right.
And that particular, I forget what the song is. I think it's a mix that he did.
I think it's like a chopped and screwed version of American Woman by the Guess Who.
That sounds right. Yeah. And it's so effective and so eerie and so terrifying.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's in counter to what you're talking about, which is way more common in his work.
Yeah. I didn't say all David Lynch uses of music were like had that romantic vibe, but then I mean, another movie I thought of while watching I Saw the TV Glow was Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
And I mean, before I came to that Twin Peaks Roadhouse connection, I kind of thought that like the Sloppy Jane appearance in I Saw the TV Glow made me think of the Dean Stockwell scene in Blue Velvet. In dreams I walk with you. That part. Yeah. And actually, to make a point from that too, with Dean Stockwell, I mean, an interesting aspect of that scene is that he's miming the song that he's singing there, In Dreams by Roy Orbison. And, he's not actually, maybe he's really singing, but the rest of the band is not, no hay banda, to put it in Lynchian terms. There's no band with him. I want to make a little point about the Sloppy Jane song that appears in I Saw the TV Glow, Claw Machine. So, I mean, Lily, we don't see you on camera, but we do hear your violin in that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The only members of Sloppy Jane that are on the screen are Haley Doll herself and the keyboard player, who is Lily Resi Rothsman. incredible keyboard player and flautist in many bands. But yeah, you hear basically the entire band. You hear most people who have been in Sloppy Jane at one point or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was leaving the theater and I mentioned to my partner, who we call Dougie on this podcast, and which I think is partially in reference to Twin Peaks. I don't know exactly how he came to this particular decision of this moniker. But I was like, I don't think that the Lily that's going to be on our podcast was on the screen. And he was like, but you could hear her.
But there was a different Lily on this screen.
Yeah.
I want to ask really quick. So here, Lily, on this podcast, we have something called the Guitar Playing Accuracy Index.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah. Okay.
I want to ask really quick because I don't know if Phoebe Bridgers is really playing.
Oh, shots fired.
Or if she's playing, it doesn't seem like it's lining up.
Yeah, you're not saying she didn't play on the recording.
Oh, no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying on
just
screen, it seems like it's more performative than actually playing a part.
I wonder how
And
much.
I'm curious. Do I have a right read on that or no?
If you listen closely to the track, there is no guitar.
Ha! There you go.
Oh.
There we go. So
There is piano, there is bass, there is drums, there is full string quartet, there is trumpet. And unless I'm missing it, unless it's like really deep in the mix, I could be wrong. I am willing to be corrected, but I don't think there is a guitar.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good. I feel
That's
a little
a
better about
very
that
But she
now.
sings
good
on it.
catch.
It is her voice in the background.
That
is,
I thought
Yeah.
was
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is authentic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I was coming in correct on this.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wow. This is very interesting. I'm glad we discussed that.
Yeah,
I wanted to
that's
get
so
to that.
interesting. And I think, I would be curious about the process of filming that particular scene because, as we pointed out, and as you said, the track that we're hearing is obviously not the track that is being played actually at what's the club?
The double lunch.
The double lunch.
That doesn't sound like David Lynch.
And it's a much more stripped down group. So I would be curious as to if in the filming they had to perform a different version on set, and maybe she was playing guitar for that, so that they could, they weren't necessarily going to the track on set.
Yeah, I think that they were going to a demo on set. I think that I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that we recorded the track after Haley and Lily Rezzy Rossman, aka Shmoo, that is her band name, did the film recording. And I also remember we actually played that song live a lot before we recorded it as well, to sort of get into it and develop it a little bit, and for Haley to hear it more. And it was sort of a secret, because the film wasn't announced really, there was nothing out. But I remember at a show that we played at Elsewhere in Brooklyn, it was huge, awesome turnout. There was one person who was singing along to every single word in the audience, and Haley yelled down to them, "How do you know this?" And they were like, "I was a PA on set."
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, and since then, that person has come to a lot of Sloppy Jane shows, and so it's been
That's
very
very
sweet.
cool.
Another convert.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
another
Very
convert.
cool.
It's funny because I was at that show too. I don't remember that happening.
Yeah.
I already knew about the production of this movie at that time too. I still missed that.
I'm wondering if we can shift gears slightly, because you said you had a lot of thoughts about the ending. I have some thoughts about the ending too. This movie goes places. Before we
Definitely.
totally get there, I wanted to ask you guys, I posed one quick question, which was, there was a lot about this viewing experience that I was completely in on. One decision, though, that was a little bit weird to me was the breaking of the fourth wall by Owen. Looking back on it, I didn't feel like it really added anything to the film. The only thought that I had was that maybe this was a nod to how far he was maybe in his own head about having his life resemble something like a television show. but I wasn't really sold on that. I didn't really feel in character with him or in character with the tone of the rest of the film. So I'm asking you guys, what did you guys feel about that decision?
I have so many thoughts on this.
Please. Good, great.
Because I think I disagree with you a little bit, and I'm excited about that. And I think I'm literally going to read off of my notes because I got so into typing, which I'm normally fairly indifferent to voiceovers in movies. Dougie hates them and finds them very lazy. In this film, I think it works partially for the reason that you stated. We don't know how real his life is. The movie leaves it pretty ambiguous, and so his straight to camera moments, I think, break the reality that we've accepted in the film. So that's kind of point one. Point two, I think it's an homage to 90s Nickelodeon, which used this a lot. I seem to remember Adventures of Pete and Pete doing this. I remember Clarissa Explains It All doing this. And it also allows one of my favorite moments in the movie is when he's talking about his dad passing away, and he's moving the new television into their house, and he tells us straight to camera that now he has a family of his own and he loves them more than anything. And then we never hear anything about them. We never see them. We never meet them.
I find it so interesting that was something that you liked, because that was something that frustrated me.
Yeah, I liked that moment a lot. It's one in reference to the way that teenagers view adulthood as milestones. You get married, you have kids, you get old, you die. Like, that's what happens to him, basically. And so he's ticking a box in the timeline of the film. He's ticking these boxes of like, my parents passed away and now I'm getting married and now I have my family, and then he's suddenly old. And I also think it's in reference to how in television we often skip over these huge time periods of characters, and then we pick up with them as if nothing has changed. And that's kind of what happens, in that all the changes in his life we've just been told about until we are suddenly supposedly decades further, and he seems essentially to be the same person that we followed around as a teenager. Yeah. But ultimately, I liked the straight-to-camera voiceover in a way that I possibly could have not been sold on it, but I think worked. And I'd be curious to hear other people's thoughts.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts as well.
I really agree with all of that. And also in the way that there are certain visuals in the film of like the grave motif that sort of like got started by a single line of dialogue. There is a part where when Maddie is with Owen in the double lunch bar and says like, do you ever feel like you are narrating your own life like a TV show? She does drop that. And so it's
I missed that. Okay, cool.
I feel like that is a setup for that in particular. And also just like, so if we decide that Pink Opaque is real reality and the suburbs is fake reality, then we could also see this as Owen or Isabel sort of like being too afraid to leave the reality and sort of like justifying staying there by like talking to the audience directly, being like, I am being creating this,
convincing them and thus convincing herself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which Matrix pill is that again? I forget which color means what.
Blue? No.
I think red is the one that takes like opens up your mind or whatever.
Yeah. And Matrix reference.
90s.
Also for Owen as a trans character.
Yeah.
Where with the theme of sort of like not feeling comfortable in your skin, feeling empty inside, then like being handed the possibility of like, oh, maybe I am not the gender that I am. Like exploring gender expression like is also a way to question reality. Right. And the scene with Owen in the dress, that may or may not have really happened. We don't know.
Right.
So, I mean, with that whole fourth wall breaking device in I Saw the TV Glow, I mean, I agree with everything that has been said here already about that. But I think that part of how I interpreted it too was, bearing in mind this Jane Schoenbrunn quote of you watch TV, but it doesn't watch you back. I feel like on some level, this is their effort to create a character who is kind of trying to watch the viewers back, like almost like this diary aspect of the narrative. When you write a diary entry, I mean, you do it to make sense of your own situations, but there's a sense that you're trying to reach out to maybe to some undefined force or undefined being, but you're still trying to reach out. I think, whenever I see a fourth wall break in a movie, I don't like to simply take it as just, this is cheeky fun. This is I really like to think about how this is interrogating the viewer too. I have the same fascination with visual art. Whenever you see a subject in a painting looking at you, I think there's an intention of dialogue. So that was kind of how I interpreted the fourth wall breaking in the movie. Even if experiencing it feels like a fairly standard device just in how it hits you. I think, I really think it makes a lot of sense in this narrative, and also just crucially tells us about some of the most important plot points in ways that I don't know if if they would be communicated to us otherwise.
See, I actually push back on that because I felt like the movie, there was nothing in the straight to camera stuff that I didn't feel was already articulated on screen, specifically about plot related things. And I think that was maybe where my head was going with this, which is that actually brought me out of the movie and didn't allow me to take in, I think, some of the things that I felt were really interesting to me from this.
I think that for me, it took me out of the narrative, but not out of the movie. I don't know if that
out
makes
of the
sense.
energy of the movie.
No, it did not take me out of the energy of the movie. It's like, again, kind of going back to what's the reality here. It's like it takes you out of the reality for a moment, but that did not affect my engagement with the film overall because it felt intentional.
Gotcha. And I feel like for me, I wasn't quite ready to leave the narrative the way that fourth wall breaking was asking
that makes
me to do.
sense. I see why you would feel that way.
Because there's a lot going on in this movie. There's a lot going on, and I felt like I was really with it until that started to complicate some of what I was feeling watching the movie. Mm-hmm. So it was just me, and that was just my first time watching it. So I think you guys made some really interesting points. I am thinking about it a little differently. It's why I brought it up as a question.
I think what you're saying is you want to stay inside the Pink Opaque.
I don't think so, but that's okay.
No, you're very staunchly team suburbs. It seems like you're team suburbs. You think that the Pink Opaque is not real and that Maddie is.
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about the ending. So now I guess.
You said something about being in the reality of the movie, though. That was why I thought that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
But so now this ending scene. Well, if you feel like you've had. If a shovel has been put to you and dug out your insides already by the point that this happens, well, if that hasn't happened to you, it will happen by the end of this movie. So what happens in this ending is that, years and years have passed. He's somewhere in the, ahead of the time that we're in now. He's in the late 2020s by this point. And he's still working the same dead-end job at this fun center in the sort of Anytown, USA, where he lives. And there's this birthday party happening, and the other staff there are singing "Happy Birthday" repeatedly, and you get the sense that this rapid fire succession of happy birthdays is just years passing by. That was what I picked up from that, and that suddenly Owen stops it all, and he's just shrieking. Yeah, I can't remember everything he said there. It's like, "Somebody help me." The line that
calls
really
for mom.
Yeah, he calls for his mom.
He
That's
says,
the line.
I'm dying right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
The mom line is the one that really gets to me. It's like that, that gets to a need that he barely ever speaks about, but is just, at the core of his being. It really feels like this descent into despair, but then there is, I'm not going to say it's positive. There's a rebound that happens. He does get out of this moment. What thoughts do you all have on this sort of rebound that happens?
I didn't really interpret it as a rebound.
Rebound.
Maybe this is just a functional
strong.
word. I don't think it's not rebound.
As you said, he does not just drop dead at this moment.
Right.
He starts to move on, at least briefly, and wander around the fun center or whatever, apologizing to people.
Yeah. But before that happens, though, he's lying in a bathroom.
Right.
And his coworker is asking him if he's feeling okay, and he's lying there a little bit. And you see there's this motif in the Pink Opaque of when Mr. Melancholy gets to characters, they start spewing out this blue goo, which I have to say, is that a Sloppy Jane reference there?
I don't know if it's deliberate, but it's a motif.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for people who don't know, I mean, that's something that Haley Dahl is known to do in live performances, is to spew out this blue paint. And I thought, like, that was what I mean, I don't know if that was an intentional reference, but I had to think, oh, yeah, Sloppy Jane right there when that happened. And so, yeah, you see that there's this blue goo in the sink in that bathroom that Owen has supposedly spewed out.
Which we've also seen the characters in the Pink Opaque dying, spewing out this same goo.
Exactly. So the realities are blended here.
And it also looks like in the sink in this end scene that there's a little bit of soil or dirt as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And
Which
then
at this point, the implication and, Maddie's kind of direct theory that she believes is that they are deeply connected. And so that Owen, and as Isabel is being buried to death, Owen is going to start feeling those effects eventually and eventually die as she dies.
Yeah.
So I noticed something in the beginning of the movie, and this is just on a personal level, that the first time Owen goes to Maddie's place to see the Pink Opaque, she's bombarding him with a lot of the kind of lore of the TV series. And Owen gets confused and he apologizes to her, and Maddie tells him, like, flat out, like, don't apologize, don't say sorry. And I found it really interesting that that's the final note of the movie, is that he cannot stop apologizing to people. And
that's sad.
That's a really interesting.
Well, I mean, and it hit me on a personal level because I feel like I'm constantly telling myself, don't apologize for things.
Yeah.
I apologize too much. And so a line like that jumps out to me and then it feels like a very intentional callback to that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sorry scene, I mean, I still feel like I haven't fully interpreted what the ending means just yet. But I mean, I was struck by that sort of people-pleasing instinct that comes out in him. I mean, that's a relatable thing for me too. I don't think, maybe not presently, but I've had phases of my life where I've been told I say sorry too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
haven't we all?
I'm still in that phase.
Yeah. And that, like, instead, he has this moment where he just lets it all out of him, like right before that. But even then, he can't stand by that confidently. I mean, I think it really feels like a pretty ambiguous ending to me.
Yeah, because then it just ends.
Yeah.
I think a more optimistic movie would have ended right around that final narration where he talks about how he never saw Maddie again, but sometimes wondered if she was right. But then that line that hits, like, and he's sweeping up garbage in the movie theater, quite literally, collecting and discarding those thoughts. And he says, it's not real, it's fantasy, it's kid stuff. And to me, it's like that line really hit hard because it's like Maddie might have been wounded or misguided or might have been obsessive, but that there was something about the journey that she took that left some sort of positive mark in his life. That's the moment where it goes, no. We're not going to do that. This is not that kind of movie.
Yeah.
This is about how if you go through life and just allow this stuff to come in and let it spiral you out of control, you're in a world of pain.
And we see life just happen to him. Like we've talked about how the last, decades of his life just like fly by. And even like the job he's working, the first job he's working in the movie theater, like once the movie theater closed down, his manager gets him a job at the fun center or whatever. He like lives in the same house he grew up in. It's like he never seems to take any like initiative, make any intentional action in his life. Everything is just dependent on the people around him. It was dependent on his mom. It was dependent on Maddie. Now it's dependent on his manager or whatever until it ends. Like until he just has to let it all out with a scream, which has clearly been building up his entire life. And then that's it. There can't be any more for him after that.
And there doesn't seem to be a road to recovery at all in this.
In the build up to that scene, like as the final sort of narration of the movie is going on, there is this shot. It's actually a a callback to the first shot of the movie of chalk on a street. And you see a side of this chalk drawing that you don't see at the beginning that says there is still time.
Right.
Which initially, like as that was rolling, like I think before you see that last scene, it kind of reads as a positive message. Like at least it did to me, that like, you know, if there is still this void in Owen's life, that there's time for him to fill it. Like, but then, you know, the more cynical reading is just, you know, it's not saying that there is more time to improve things. It's just there is still time.
There's still time to suffer.
Yeah. And, it, you know, that goes back to, you know, this interpretation of the end of the movie that it's like, you know, he was not saved. Life is just kind of going on in this very rote, unexciting, and ultimately depressing way.
I think that I have fully bought into Maddie's narrative.
Ooh.
As an audience
I wanted to
member.
come back to this because you were like, I'm team suburbs and you're
yeah,
team
which
Maddie
I didn't
reality.
mean to be accusatory.
No,
Sorry.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
I am fully team Pink Opaque.
Okay.
I think that the fact that it's called Void High School,
Yeah.
the fact that there were so many like very pointed quotes on the walls of the high school, like yes, there seem to be other people who exist in this universe, and yes, it seems to be fully fleshed out, but there were just too many things that interwove in the narrative to make me not want to interpret it as like a magical realism story where like this is Isabel and Tara and they are trapped in a delusion because of the moon juice that Mr. Melancholy forced them to drink, and they are dying in the dirt right now.
Okay. All right.
And there is still time. That chalk, like that, and the fact that it was in Maddie's handwriting makes me think that that is Tara still trying to communicate. There
my
is still
God.
time to Isabel.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
And
when I saw
the
that.
fact that also like, yeah, there was like blue and dirt in the sink in the end. And the fact that like Owen is wheezing. Like,
Absolutely.
Right.
suffocating.
Well, it's mentioned before that he has asthma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When
Right.
I hear though that he has asthma, my thought is like that's this reality's way of setting up the fact that she can't breathe.
Yeah. And I think at one point Maddie does say like, you're suffocating underground right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if Isabel is suffocating underground and cannot breathe, then Owen, as her analog in this universe, has never been able to breathe because he's always been her.
And the only scene in the whole film that to me like kind of pokes a hole in the Pink Opaque theory is the manager knocking on the door saying, "Hey buddy, are you okay?" like that is the one thing that is the outside world that is supposedly reality being like, "Hey, are you still in your delusion? Like are you like coming out of it now?" And then he like opens up his chest and finds a TV inside.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
Explain that.
And that could be his brain. That could be him wishing that.
Yeah, he
that
seemed
the
pretty
reality.
gleeful that,
Yeah.
that he found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course that is the reality that he wants. And also the scene in the middle, kind of like at the beginning of the end, where he watches the finale, the finale of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And Fred Durst comes and finds him and takes him out and like puts him under the shower.
Because he's screaming when the finale ends.
Yeah. He's screaming and he has his head inside of the television.
Yeah.
More blue vomit happens there.
Drawn over with crayon.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
very like wild, like melting of mediums, melting of like the layers of reality, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, there was a moment where Fred Durst is sitting on the couch, like I think the first time that Owen comes in after the movie job, and he's just like looking at him, and I was like, that's Mr. Melancholy.
Me too. I thought
In the moon. That's the first shot of the moon that we see.
Yeah.
Like that's his face.
Because it's like there's a gray light on his face too that looks just like Mr. Melancholy. That was a detail I only really picked up on rewatch.
And it's clear in the difference between Tara and Isabel and Maddie and Owen that Maddie is more of the like active, like outgoing personality, and Owen is the more internal one. Owen is the one who goes to the house that he's been pretending to have sleepovers at and says, "Don't let me go with her. Like, don't let me go."
Yeah,
on that
wait.
adventure.
What's going on with that?
So he said he didn't say anything and basically like agreed to leave town with Maddie and then regretted it
and
because
then
he got scared.
like reneges on it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's like, he doesn't know his way out of this. He's too chicken to go back to Maddie and be like, no, I'm not doing
I can't
this.
do this. somebody else, please.
Yeah.
Come and
He
take
can't
me from
even
this.
really go to his own parents and be like, this other teenager wants to kidnap me. Please help.
Yeah.
Like, he has to put it on. I think he knows that this, like, mother of an old friend of his will kind of help him out, and that she's really the only one he'll have to admit anything to, because at that point, like, she'll just cover for him. So he doesn't have to face Maddie. He doesn't have to face his parents. He's facing this person who he only, like, kind of tangentially even knows.
Doesn't he say something though? It's like, I should be grounded.
Yes.
Or I need to
Yeah.
be grounded.
Yeah,
or
you
something?
That's why he can't leave, because
Yeah.
he'll be stuck at his house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. How about you guys? Because to me, like, you going there, that's why when you said it, I was confused. But it's pretty cool. I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
My brain didn't allow me to go there. I was still in problem solve mode.
Yeah.
And I found a lot that I really liked in the movie. But
Yeah.
but this was a whole thread I was not on that wavelength. But
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I think I love that the movie leaves it kind of ambiguous, and that I lean team Pink Opaque, but I don't want to go all the way in either direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similarly that it's like there are bits of both, but that's why it's like you could go Team Suburbs or Team Pink Opaque compellingly either way. I think that's what keeps it interesting. But I think the rewatch for me was very helpful in picking up a lot of these details of the realities blending. Between my first and second viewing, I was talking with my cousin Sylvie about the movie, who's also a big fan of this particular film. And she pointed out to me that the moment when you have a confirmation that the realities are blended is actually in the Sloppy Jane scene, because the double lunch, this venue, Maddie mentions early in the movie, this is the venue in the Pink Opaque.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And she says, I know there's a place out on the edge of town where we can talk, where we'll be able to talk safely.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, she mentions too in that first conversation scene, there's a double bill of bands there on every episode. And then, as the credits roll, the way that Sloppy Jane featuring Phoebe Bridgers and King Woman are presented as featuring special musical guests. Yeah. So like even in the credits, the movie takes on the reality of the Pink Opaque. And I think that like this blending of realities really is one of the distinguishing factors of this movie. Like for all of the other comparisons that we've made, I feel like, there's a lot of movies where you can see similar threads, but I saw the TV Glow really does it in its own way. And I think spectacularly at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
So my theory for the end of the film is that Owen is resolved to go join the Pink Opaque.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the fortified expression that he
Yeah.
he gives himself in the mirror, and then even as he's apologizing to everybody, he's as quickly as he can trying to leave the fun center.
Yeah.
I think that's what I want. I want the Pink Opaque to be real.
I would buy that. Yeah. I mean, the aspect of this ending that makes me think broadly of a certain type of movie ending is that sometimes you have situations. It makes me think actually a lot of like certain Scorsese movies where you have characters who go through something that is undeniably tragic, but they find a way to convince themselves that they're on top, that they have succeeded and things are going to be good for them. You could think, the go-to example for me is Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. What he goes through is objectively a horrible experience, but in the end, at least from his point of view, he's on top.
Yeah, he's righteous.
Yeah, he's righteous. And Owen, of course, is a very different type of character, but I feel like that sort of internal confirmation bias, appears in that character. On this podcast before we talked about Shutter Island, and I feel like that has a similar sort of ending where like, terrible things have happened, speaking of Scorsese, but the character, finds a way to sugarcoat this, rose tint it for himself. And maybe that's maybe it's a pink tint here. Yeah, that's what the Pink Opaque will be for Owen moving forward. I guess we're at the point now where we just shout out those few little details that we haven't shouted out yet. Does anyone have anything they want to point to on that?
We've gone pretty deep into this.
I've got one that I have to say.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
Oh, actually, okay, two. One thing, we've talked a lot about this ending. We have not mentioned just how utterly chapped Owen's lips are in that scene.
It's disgusting.
It's like, it is disconcerting to look at, but that's part of why it's effective. But the other detail I have to shout out is just a line that really got me, probably my favorite line of the movie, just on a fun level, which is maybe the second time you see the narrative of the Pink Opaque on screen. that Lindsay Jordan snail mail has this line as Tara, "Hey, bozo, Estee Lauder called. They've got some suggestions about this look you're going for." And then before she picks up a crowbar and smacks a guy.
That was a big Buffy callback. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's like I didn't have the Buffy reference point there, but I was just kind of like, hit me with that crowbar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
All I wanted to say is that I thought that Mr. Melancholy clearly could have been related to the moon from the Mighty Boosh.
Oh,
100%.
Yeah. Again, like not a point of reference that I had before, but you're showing up the image to us now, and looking at that, it's like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
1-to-1.
Or like a trip to the moon.
Oh yeah,
A very early
Georges Méliès.
Yeah,
Georges
absolutely.
Méliès, Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, very transparent metaphor there. Yeah, Lily, did you have any?
I feel like I said all of them already.
I'm like looking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I got through.
Yeah,
all
I
of
went
them.
pretty granular on all my theories. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, before we get into our unlikely shared universe segment, one callback that I want to make actually to the Sloppy Jane song Claw Machine is that, well, the metaphor of that, I'm going to paraphrase, I might botch the lyrics here, but I think it's something like the heart is like a claw machine. It reaches out, but it never, what is it? You would know.
Its only function is to reach. It can't hold on to anything.
It can't hold on to anything.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I mean, I think, you know, not just because I like the song, I feel like that song is kind of the key to the movie.
Totally.
There's, you know, that line really summarizes the core experience of Owen. But also that's just something, you know, we were talking about the resonance we feel with music in general. That's just something that, like, I felt cut right to the core personally. There's like just so much about life that is summed up in that statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, this is one of the things we look for when we watch those TVs glow.
There is a shot of a claw machine in the film too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the fun center.
I remember that.
Yeah. I like the line in that song too about painting the ceiling of your room black.
Yeah. Oh my
so
God.
that when you close your eyes, you open your eyes, it's as if you've kept them closed or something.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
That's staying with me.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely gut-wrenching image. But I think I was saying off mic before we recorded that I think, you know, for all of the pits of sorrow that you experience in this movie, there's like a lot of people probably feel seen by it too. I feel like the movie is being embraced pretty warmly by its target audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there's the contrast of when you show this, you know, these pits of despair on screen. I mean, there is the voice that gives to people too, the way that they feel seen on the glowing TV. Well,
Yeah, let's unlikely share universes or share unlikely shares.
all right, I can kick it off.
All right, do it.
All right, so we made passing mention of Owen's coworker at the Fun Center, who we know as Dave in the movie. So let's say that, you know, Dave is his real name, but his friends call him Max because, you know, like it's his middle name. It's, you know, he identifies with it more. And, you know, maybe he watches what Owen goes through and he doesn't relate to it. He doesn't have this obsession with media. And he's kind of thinking like, what is going on with this guy? But he has a few friends who are obsessed with social media. And, you know, he maybe sneers at them similarly too, but he doesn't make much of it. But he's forced to reckon with his friend's obsession when he is invited to a mansion party that they hold. And, you know, he expects to find all of them there having a good time when he shows up. And instead, when he does show up, all because of a botched scheme on a TikTok video, instead of finding the fun experience he hopes for, what he comes to find are bodies.
Whoa.
I
Yeah.
love that you did this, and because I was pretty sure you were going to do this one.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about Connor O'Malley in this movie,
Yeah.
but the thing I love about Connor O'Malley as an actor is that I never know that he's going to be in a movie, and then I'm just delighted when he shows up, and I felt that way in this movie, and I felt that way in Bodies. And I think the thing I like in Bodies about that is that he's referenced a lot in the movie. They talk about his character a lot, but you don't see him, and so he's kind of a reveal at the end that I did not see coming, and I thought it was great.
I don't remember if he even has any lines in the movie.
I think possibly, if so,
just like
maybe
a-
like one at
one
the
that's like,
end, more of
what's
like a
going
shock,
on?
Kind of Fred
something like
Dursting
that.
it.
Yeah.
I would love to go next
Do it.
because I am going to propose an alternate theory to this particular character of Owen. Or sorry, this particular character of Dave. And so we mentioned that we don't really know where this takes place, Anytown, USA. I'm going to propose that it takes place in Michigan. We know that Maddie gets as far as Arizona, but we don't know how far Arizona is from them. So I'm going to say they're in Michigan. And I'm going to say that Dave, Owen's boss in the movie theater, and eventually at the fun palace
Center or whatever.
Center, depot, whatever. He has a pretty fulfilling life, and he actually has a family. He has a wife, and he has 3 kids, unlike Owen's family, who we never met. And maybe his actual name is Mike, and he's a little embarrassed about working at his second job at the fun center. So that's why he's going by an alias over there. But he has a wife and 3 kids, and he also has a pretty good friendship with his across the street neighbor, who is a choir teacher at a local middle school. And his choir teacher friend is a little bit awkward, but he's very earnest and deeply passionate about many things, including breakfast and Christmas trees and beans and lots of other very small, very specific interests. And he can ultimately talk to you all night. I couldn't figure out exactly how to loop in the title of this, but could anyone figure out what this was?
I'm at a total loss. I'm
Admittedly,
so sorry.
I am too.
That's fair. So this is Joe Pera Talks With You, which
Oh my gosh.
originated on Adult Swim, which was
Yes.
referenced earlier in this conversation.
Yeah. And also, oh man, it ties in with the Sloppy Jane universe, actually.
Really?
What?
Yeah. Joe Pera is friends with Ember Knight, who is the leader of the sister band to Sloppy Jane.
I love that.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
the sister band?
Or the sister band was in place, and I don't know if it is anymore. It might just be Ember Knight now, but it was Ember Knight and his orchestra.
Oh,
Very
Yeah.
cool.
It was another massive band, basically just on the West Coast. Almost the exact same, parallel universe in a way.
Gotcha.
love that.
A little
Yeah.
Tara and Isabel.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that worked out. I highly recommend Joe Pera Talks With You. I think it may be streaming on Max, maybe?
It is.
One of
Sounds
those?
right.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent show. Very easy pill to swallow. They're normally, I think, 15 or 20 minutes, and it's delightful. And yeah, Connor O'Malley plays a neighbor and friend character, and he's manic in the best ways.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay team suburbs on this one. We've already discussed that there is a general lack of parental figures in this film, except for a few pivotal scenes with Owen's mother, Brenda. Owen's father is oddly distant and icy at best with him. There is not a good explanation for this, but I'm going to posit a reason why right now. So Owen has a pretty strict bedtime, 10:15. This is really specific. And I'm wondering if this strictness has more to do with TV than we actually think. We do see in some small clips that his mom and dad do watch TV fairly often, that perhaps this is maybe their time to safeguard their own TV time so their son doesn't steamroll through their nighttime TV viewing habits. It's maybe the parent talking here. But maybe there is something on TV that Owen's mom doesn't want him to see. Maybe old reruns of One Life to Live. Maybe old reruns of MASH. Maybe he can't watch TV on Saturday mornings either because Owen's mother doesn't want him to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse, where he'd see a character named Cowboy Curtis gallivant around with Captain Carl, Miss Yvonne, and others. Because
Jerry.
the actor who plays Cowboy Curtis would have had such a striking physical resemblance to young Owen that perhaps it would invite questions like, why is my dad so cold to me? Why is my mom's and dad's relationship so frigid too? Is it because Owen is the love child of Brenda and rising actor Lawrence Fishburne? I mean, come on, there's an incredible similarity between their faces. It was a little distracting for me at some point. There's no other good explanation for this. But Maybe Brenda stepped out on her marriage with Owen's dad, or maybe was pregnant with Owen before Fred Durst came into the picture and he agreed begrudgingly to raise the boy as his son. And this original sin of Owen's conception has caused far-reaching ripple effects on everyone's health. And I can confirm this with the end, because when Owen tells the audience that he has his own family now and he loves them more than anything, I'm going to say it's because we've seen that he's obsessed with television and he's found his new family. And that is the family from ABC's Blackish, where Lawrence Fishburne plays the patriarch, Pops Johnson.
Wow.
And it's here that Owen can finally connect with not only a loving father figure that he has always desired, but his actual biological father.
Oh my God.
Morpheus.
I love that.
Well done.
I love any unlikely shared universe that brings in Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. I know.
Yeah, as we get into our closing thoughts, I mean, I just have to say, too, in regards to this podcast, I mean, you know, at the time that this is released, it will be in the middle of our cycle on high school movies. But at this time, we've recorded that whole cycle already, and we're on the brink of recording a cycle of episodes about musicians on film. So this movie
Very
is
fitting.
Yeah.
pretty
It's right in the
perfectly
middle.
situated for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't know the next time I'm going to see this movie, but I'm very glad that I saw it. It made me think a lot. It
Yeah.
clearly is full of many, many ideas. And I'm really glad I saw it. This is really, really cool. A great
Yeah.
conversation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
This is a funny movie to talk about in the past tense because, you know, I saw the TV glow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
Yeah,
to just
totally.
put a parentheses around the I saw and square it.
I saw the TV glow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just all these layers around it.
Pre-delay, post-delay.
Yeah, Russian doll sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. My
Yeah.
brain. Whoa.
Yeah, I think it's better instead of saying that you saw the movie, just simply say, I saw the TV glow.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. But I had a great time. This was so much fun. And Lily, it was really, really cool to have you on.
Yeah,
you
it's
so
great to meet you.
much.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything you did. It's
Thank
super
you for
cool.
having me. It was lovely discussing this with you guys. It was so good.
Yeah. And just a reminder to the listeners that you are the first guest on this podcast with any level of direct involvement in a movie that we're discussing. So congrats on being the one to help us reach that milestone.
7 degrees removed from the movie almost, but yeah, kind of.
We heard
It's
that
still
violin.
something.
You heard the violin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you heard the
It was
violins. Okay.
Loud
yeah.
and clear. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You see the TV glow, you hear the violin.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
is the best place for people to find your work?
You can find me on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook.
I'm still there.
Yeah,
I'm still there.
Yeah. And I also am currently collaborating with a songwriter, Ben, doing stuff that is also in a lot of fuchsia pink, similar to the Pink Opaque. And yeah, a lot of magical realism, fun songwriting stuff. So you can find us at Ben and Lily Desmond, or just my Spotify page, Lily Desmond. We're releasing an EP soon called White Elephant. And yeah, you can find me in those places.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mention your Instagram handle too. It's a memorable
right.
one.
Lily Goddamn Desmond.
There we go.
Yeah. Just have to say too, if you ever release any censored versions of your songs, you've got to change that to gosh darn.
Well, thankfully, I'll never do that.
Nice.
I just had to put it out there somewhere on record. But yeah, as for the podcast itself, we mentioned this up at the top, but you can follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Sleepless Cinematic Pod. You can email us at sleeplesscinematicpod@gmail.com. We would love to hear your thoughts. And you can follow me on Letterboxd at Julian_Barthold.
And you can follow me at Patroness of Cats.
Awesome. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Gratitude to the void.